The moment the numbers refreshed on US iTunes, the music industry felt it. Bruno Mars had done it again. His long-awaited new album, The Romantic, surged to #1 within hours of release, without a months-long press blitz, without controversy, and without chasing trends. Just music. In an era dominated by viral snippets and algorithm-driven hits, Bruno Mars' return to the top feels almost old school. Yet the impact is immediate and unmistakable. The Romantic debuting at #1 on US iTunes signals more than fan excitement. It marks a defining chapter in the career of one of America's most consistent hitmakers, a reminder that craftsmanship, patience, and showmanship still matter. For Bruno Mars, this moment has been nearly a decade in the making. Since the blockbuster success of 24K Magic, which swept the Grammy Awards and produced era-defining anthems, the singer largely stepped away from solo releases. He collaborated, toured selectively, and most notably joined forces with Anderson .Paak for Silk Sonic. But a full solo statement, that remained elusive until now. Industry analysts describe The Romantic as both a continuation and a recalibration. Released under Atlantic Records, the album leans into lush arrangements, live instrumentation, and emotionally direct songwriting. It is a project steeped in classic soul, R&B, and disco influences, yet polished with modern clarity. There are no obvious attempts to mimic TikTok trends. Instead, the record feels deliberate, crafted, layered, and confident. Music critics have noted that the album's immediate commercial success reflects pent-up demand. When an artist like Bruno Mars goes quiet, people wait, says veteran music journalist Mark Ellison. He doesn't oversaturate the market, so when he drops it feels like an event. That event status translated into swift digital sales, pushing The Romantic to the top of the charts within its first day. Behind the scenes, collaborators say the album was shaped in relative secrecy. Longtime creative partner and producer Demille reportedly worked closely with Mars in private studio sessions over the past 2 years. According to one engineer involved in the project, the approach was intensely hands-on. He's obsessed with the details, the engineer said. Vocals, live horns, drum textures, he'll redo something 10 times until it feels timeless. That pursuit of timelessness has defined Bruno Mars' career from the beginning. Born Peter Gene Hernandez in Honolulu, Hawaii, he grew up performing in his family's band, absorbing everything from Elvis Presley to Motown classics. By the time he moved to Los Angeles as a teenager, he carried not just ambition but a deep respect for musical tradition. His early songwriting success for other artists before his own breakout reflected an instinct for melody and structure that many peers lacked. When Bruno Mars finally emerged as a solo star in the early 2010s, he did so with a blend of charisma and precision. Hits like Just the Way You Are and Locked Out of Heaven positioned him as a cross-genre force. He wasn't confined to pop, R&B, or funk. He floated between them. And he did it with a live performer's mentality, prioritizing musicianship in an increasingly digital industry. The Romantic feels like a culmination of those instincts. Early listener reactions highlight the album's romantic themes: love, devotion, vulnerability, delivered without irony. At a time when much of mainstream pop leans into detachment or hyperminimal production, Bruno Mars is offering lush harmonies and sweeping choruses. The risk is clear, so is the reward. Commercially, the album's momentum could extend beyond iTunes. Industry insiders predict strong streaming numbers and a likely debut high on the Billboard Hot 100 for its lead single. But the deeper story is not just about chart positions, it is about influence. Over the past decade, Bruno Mars has quietly shaped the sound of contemporary pop. His embrace of retro aesthetics paved the way for a disco and funk revival in the late 2010s and early 2020s. Artists across genres have cited his stagecraft as inspiration. Even younger R&B singers often reference his vocal arrangements when discussing modern soul production. Bruno changed how people think about performance, says music producer Carla Jenkins, who has worked with several emerging pop acts. He proved that you can be theatrical without being gimmicky, that live bands and choreography can coexist with streaming dominance. There is also a cultural layer to his success. As a multiracial artist navigating the American music industry, Bruno Mars has faced both acclaim and scrutiny, yet he has consistently centered the music itself. He rarely engages in public feuds. He avoids political grandstanding. Instead, he focuses on execution, on making records that connect emotionally across demographics. The Romantic's themes suggest a more introspective artist. Several tracks reportedly explore commitment and long-term devotion rather than fleeting romance. Insiders say some lyrics were inspired by conversations about balancing fame and personal life. Though Bruno Mars keeps his private world tightly guarded, those close to him describe a performer who is more reflective than his flashy stage persona suggests. One studio source recounts a late-night session in which Mars insisted on dimming the lights and recording vocals with minimal playback. He wanted it to feel like he was singing directly to one person, the source said. He said, "If it doesn't feel honest in here, it won't feel honest out there." That insistence on authenticity may explain why his fan base has remained loyal despite long gaps between releases. In the hyperactive pace of modern entertainment, absence often erodes relevance. But for Bruno Mars, absence seems to build anticipation. The business implications are significant. A #1 iTunes debut strengthens his negotiating power for future touring and streaming deals. Concert promoters are already speculating about a potential global tour tied to the romantic. If history is any indication, ticket demand would be intense. His previous tour consistently ranked among the highest-grossing worldwide. Yet beyond dollars and data, there is the broader cultural imprint. Bruno Mars represents a bridge between eras. He channels the showmanship of 1970s soul legends, the polish of 1980s pop icons, and the accessibility of 21st-century streaming stars. That synthesis has helped redefine what mainstream pop can look and sound like in America. Critics who once dismissed him as merely retro now acknowledge his strategic foresight. Trends come and go, nostalgia cycles repeat, but craftsmanship endures. In that sense, the romantic is less about chasing the moment and more about outlasting it. For YouTube audiences and digital consumers, the album's success offers another layer of engagement. Visual storytelling has always been central to Bruno Mars' brand. From cinematic music videos to tightly choreographed live performances, he understands that modern music lives as much on screens as in speakers. Industry watchers expect accompanying visuals for the romantic to follow suit, polished, theatrical, and built for replay value. As the album continues to climb charts and dominate conversation, one question lingers. What does this mean for the next phase of Bruno Mars' career? At 40, he occupies a rare position. He is no longer the young breakout star, nor is he a legacy act coasting on past glory. He sits in the middle, experienced, proven, but still creatively hungry. There is also the matter of influence on younger artists. With each successful project, Bruno Mars reinforces the viability of investing in musicianship. In a streaming economy that rewards quantity, he champions quality. In a culture obsessed with speed, he values patience. That message resonates beyond music, speaking to a broader American narrative about craft and resilience. The romantic reaching #1 on US iTunes is, on the surface, a statistic. But beneath it lies a story about longevity, reinvention, and artistic conviction. It is about a performer who understands both the spectacle and the substance of pop stardom. As the industry watches what comes next, tour announcements, award nominations, possible chart milestones, one reality is already clear. Bruno Mars is not simply revisiting past glory, he is reaffirming his place in the present. And if the romantic is any indication, the future may be just as commanding. In a marketplace crowded with fleeting trends, Bruno Mars continues to bet on melody, emotion, and live musicianship. For millions of fans, that bet is paying off once again. Bruno Mars is back at the center of the American music conversation. With his latest album, The Romantic, soaring to #1 on US iTunes, Bruno Mars once again proves why he remains one of the most influential performers of his generation. After years of selective releases and high-profile collaborations, this new project marks a powerful return to his solo spotlight, blending classic soul, modern R&B, and the signature showmanship that defines his brand. For American audiences, this moment is bigger than a chart milestone. Bruno Mars has built a career on precision, live musicianship, and timeless songwriting, from the Grammy-winning success of 24K Magic to sold-out global tour. In an era dominated by fast-moving trends and viral hits, his ability to command attention without oversaturation highlights his staying power in the industry. This report explores how Bruno Mars crafted his comeback, the cultural impact of his sound on US pop music, and why critics believe this release could shape the next wave of mainstream R&B and pop. We also take you behind the scenes of the album's creation and examine what this achievement means for his legacy. Watch now for a closer look at the artistry, strategy, and cultural influence driving Bruno Mars back to #1.